Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Prepared for Takeoff. I'm your host, Kushan, and as always, I am joined by my co host, SSN 754.
Good morning, sir. How's everything on the left coast today?
I'm pretty tired.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, you had a marathon last night. Tell us about that.
I did an 11 and a half hour live stream of my Command El Dorado Canyon scenario yesterday. I played it in real time with no time compression from takeoff until through the strikes on Libya, up until about the time the U.S. strike force got to Rota, and at that point it was 9:30 in the evening my time, and I was just tired. I didn't have the energy to get a little bit of an echo, by the way.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
And by then I just didn't have the energy to continue on. I was gonna divert to Rota anyway, but by then I'm just like, I'm right here, guys. I'm gonna call it close enough.
Wow,
But
that's a long time, dude. To sit and I could just imagine actually flying it, but sitting in a computer chair for that long.
mad
Even,
respect, like huge
yeah.
amounts of respect to those pilots who had to actually fly that. I mean, I took periodic stretch breaks and got up, and
Uh huh.
I ate dinner and I ate lunch, and got
Most
up to
pilots didn't get to
refill my
do that.
drinks and stretch. But it's like still like, even after that, my legs were sore, and it's like my whole body was sore. And it's like I can't imagine actually having to fly that.
Oh
Like
yeah, that's superhuman stuff
like
there.
huge amounts of respect to those pilots who had to do that.
Yeah.
Especially since, from what I've read, they weren't able to actually use the autopilot very much because it didn't
Wow.
hold formation in the F-111 very well. And
So they
so, yeah, and so since they could use it for short periods of time, and then it would like slowly fall out of formation, so then they'd have to take manual control again and wrangle it back in, and
and we're talking about a plane that doesn't have exactly electronic fly-by-wires. Still early '60s, so they had to muscle that thing around. Oh yeah, that's been fun.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean that was probably late '60s, early '70s, but
Yeah,
still, I
yeah,
mean,
late '60s. Yeah, still early technology compared to like an
oh yeah, I
F-16,
mean,
or something like
as
that. So,
as Gunner 98 pointed out on the stream yesterday, it was very much a hangar queen.
oh
It
yeah,
had a lot of advancements for its time, but
yeah.
at the time, a lot of what we think of as common now was still pretty early days, and
Hmm.
I mean, there was a reason about a third of the rate aborted the run. I mean, they had to do fence checks all the way down, and if you weren't, per the rules of engagement, if you weren't, 100%, you had to abort your attack run. So there was more than a few that flew all the way down there and then basically had to drop their bombs into the ocean.
You talk about frustrating. That would have been frustrating. Knowing
Yeah.
you had, knowing you had to fly all the way back. So,
And I actually simulated that in the
yeah,
scenario there about
yeah.
a I was glad to see I did my math right because I had about 7 aircraft aborted, and I think about the numbers I read, basically about a third of the rate aborted. So 7 is
Wow.
in that realm,
Yeah.
and actually, if you get a really super, I mean, it's pretty much almost impossible to happen, but it's actually a very, I mean, remote, like once in a lifetime numbers that you could play that scenario and the entire raid has to abort
Huh.
because I actually do a fence check on every single F-111 as you cross into, on the final approach.
Uh huh.
So if you get to that point, I mean, it's super remote. Like, if I did my numbers right, which it looks like I have, about a third of the raid should abort, which, like I said, I had 7
Uh huh. Yeah.
out of
That's about
18.
right. Yeah.
So that's about on par. And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I
I,
mean,
I
but you have spent, basically, how long has this been in a work in progress? It's been over a year, hasn't it?
No, you gave me the suggestion for that scenario in March of 2016.
Okay. Well,
We were still
4
in
years.
Belugan's chat when
Yeah.
you
Uh,
gave me the
when
suggestion for that,
when
and
I planted the seed was 4 years ago, and now the oak tree has grown, and it's sprouting leaves, and it's all good. So,
to be fair though, and to clear up, I haven't worked on this scenario for 4 years. I did take a
No,
break
yeah,
from command in there, and I did kind of hit some bumps and starts and stops because I'd hit an
yes.
issue that was frustrating, and so I'd step away and come back to it with a clear head about a month later, and or a couple months later in some cases, and kind of rethink the problem. Because doing a historical scenario like it, I felt the need to make sure I had everything simulated. I didn't
Uh-huh.
just want to do, hey, here's the strike, go have at it. When I first looked at it and did the research, there was several points that I knew I wanted to simulate and make sure I had in there and did it right. And if it hadn't, and I think it went very, very well. If it hadn't been for three really badly spawned or random spawned Crotal batteries that spawned in the middle of Benghazi, I would have been like right on the numbers. Um,
Very cool.
I had one F-111 that was damaged, I had one F-111 that was lost, and I had two A7 Corsairs that got lost on SAD,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the 10 A6s I lost. But you take those 10 A6s out of there, and it's close at that point. It's
Uh-huh.
in the realm of possibility of what could have been lost on the actual operation, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm super happy with how it came out.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, that was about the first full playthrough you've done of that, right? Even
That was my third.
okay.
Um,
And this one was pretty much spot on the way.
well, I'll rephrase. This is the third of this version of it.
Okay.
I did well. It's my third playthrough. I guess it's only my second full one. I did one earlier in this week, and hit some bugs, and then I did a full one on Friday. Fixed pretty much a lot of bugs in there. Which none of them, when I say bugs, like there was just little things like triggers and some things I had overlooked and weren't working how I thought. And then this was the full first all the way through with no bugs and not trying to bug fix, and it went pretty flawlessly. Everything worked. Um, I am super happy with how it came out.
Yeah, that's good. And good. The CMO is evolving. They've released a new public patch. Well, it kind of incremental until the big patch hits.
Yep, we got
Uh,
a new patch this week with lots of changes to mine warfare.
yeah, minesweeping. The ignored aspect of naval warfare that people don't like to spend a lot of money on, and it got some love here in CMO at least. And I've been playing a little bit, and it's the sim is still chugging along great. So, and what do we think a timeline is for the next big patch? May probably.
May, probably June. I mean,
May, June, something
depends
like
on how
that.
many of these incremental patches they're looking at doing. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of skirting the line here because of NDA and stuff I know is in
Oh,
the
sure.
works.
Yeah, absolutely.
um,
Sometime early summer. Let's just put it that way.
yeah,
So,
yeah, early summer is what I would expect.
you know,
Um, but yeah, it was. I'm super happy with Outer Water Canyon. Like I said, the game's coming along great. And
hmm
now that that's done, I get to start thinking about what I'm going to do next.
yeah.
Um,
There's all kinds of different stuff out there, scenario wise. It's kind
I'm
of
toying around, and this will probably be just kind of a quick turnaround. There is some tweaks I need to make to the scenario. I got
uh-huh.
some, like I said, I got some other ideas from Gunner. 98 yesterday on the stream about how to kind of delay the Libyan air defenses some more, and then there is some minor little tweaks I want to make, and then I think there's a quick turnaround I kind of want to do in that I've read in a couple places, but I've never seen anything official that they actually considered the F-117 for that raid. Um,
I have kind of read something like that,
but
but they over.
I've never, like I said, I've never seen anything official, but I've seen some things here or there,
I'm
and it's
reading a
like,
book about that right
and I've
now,
never
and
been able to confirm it because I know like the 48th fighter wing. If I'm pronouncing stuff wrong, guys, please forgive me today. Like I'm not even gonna try and edit this out. I'm tired and my throat hurts, and I'm
being a trooper. So,
yeah. But I've read in a couple places that yeah they considered it, but like I said, I've never seen anything official. But
yeah,
I think it would be kind of an interesting kind of concept to, instead of using the F-111s, I'd still probably base the F-111s out of Lakenheath just to still make you go
uh-huh.
through. In reality, there's no other country that they could have been based out of. France and Spain declined overflight. Italy was kind of, I want to say buddies with Gaddafi, but they warned Gaddafi through Malta. There's really no other place you could base them, so it'd be F-117s out of Lakenheath, tank them down. There'd be similar loadouts, but slightly different in a couple places. And I think it'd be just kind of and I'd still use the A6s on the carriers.
Sure.
I would swap those out.
You mentioned the stealth fighter, and I'm reading a book right now called Stealth by Peter Westwick's the author, and he's covering the history of the development of the F-117 and the B-2 bomber.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's a good book, real good read. And he mentioned something in there. They did consider the F-117 for the Libya operation, but it was vetoed by the Pentagon because they did not want to reveal the crown jewel yet.
Yeah.
And of course, 3 years later, it did kind of get used in Panama as a show thing. So, and then of course, 5-6 years later in Iraq, it really made its debut. But,
and everybody knew about it by then.
Yes. Yeah.
And then even in '86, it was still kind of like an open secret.
I think we had something, but nobody really knew what it was.
Yeah.
So then,
it was kind of like an open secret, but like I said, I've never seen anything official on it that it was considered, but it was kind of like the Tomahawks and the Iowas. The Iowas were considered, but they weren't precise enough. Tomahawks were considered, but both not precise enough, and if any had malfunctioned or anything, they didn't want parts and pieces ending up in Soviet hands.
Yeah.
And definitely, that along with they didn't want to reveal anything about with the F-117.
Could you imagine how awesome that would have been to see a couple of Iowas pull up to the shore in Libya there and to start pounding away? It sounds macabre, but that would have been kind of cool. It would have been a throwback to
it was possible,
but
3 of the targets were actually within range: the Benina airfield and the Tripoli air or international airport were out of range of the guns. Okay. And again, they weren't precise enough. Like the Aziza barracks is in the middle of downtown Tripoli. Like
they were really concerned about collateral damage.
They were very concerned about collateral. Something I've actually considered, but I don't know if it would really make a difference, is actually trying to spawn in some civilian buildings into Tripoli.
Mm-hmm.
As kind of a, don't touch this, don't randomly discriminate, type stuff.
Yeah.
If you lightly damaged 1 or 2, that was fine, but then if you went over, say, like a couple buildings damaged or destroyed, then you would start reducing points, but I don't really know if it's worth putting that in there. I mean, most of the stuff was precision guided munitions, so they don't really. I mean, they miss and they malfunction, but that's really handled in the damage roll.
Uh-huh.
They don't just drop off and fall. Super. I mean, stuff falls short and or overshoot, but it's not. You can't really simulate like the INS on an F-111 failing and the aircraft just not being where it thinks it is. It's one of the consequences of the game. So I probably won't, because I don't think it would really make a difference.
Yes. So, okay. Well, what else have you done this week?
So on the so putting command aside, I spent some flight sim money this week.
Yes, you did. So.
And I haven't told you everything that I bought, so you're going to hear this live.
Oh boy, here we go.
So starting off, I finally, after lots and lots of talking, I bought the Honeycomb Yoke.
Yes, that's pretty cool. And I'm probably in the shopping mode for that now too, since
because your joystick broke.
My little joystick broke. My little Logitech, whatever it was, the little cheap one, and it's gone now. So yes, I might, courtesy of our president with his Trump bucks, I will probably have to delve into that. Yep.
So then, I spent some other money on some add-ons, even though I said I wasn't going to.
Yes.
I took advantage of the PMDG sale and I bought the 777.
Very cool.
And then I figured while I was also on the PMDG site, I bought the 737 NGXU.
Wow.
And then I went over to my other favorite website of FS to Crew, and I bought FS to Crew for both the NGXU and the 777.
Wow.
And I bought Ultimate Ground Crew X.
Damn. Oh, well, you cleaned up. I mean, those are all planes, and the FS2 crew stuff will all work together. So, have you flown any of that yet?
I have not yet. I was really, as mentioned, I was really busy with trying to get El Dorado Canyon packaged up for yesterday's stream. And then the Yoke was undergoing quarantine in my car because I've been quarantined and screening all the boxes that I can. Just because I'm a paranoid, person.
It's a smart move now.
And so I put it into my car, and it's been waiting quarantine in there, and it should be coming out today or tomorrow.
Okay.
And I will get it set up, and then I will get... I have P3D version 4 reinstalled. Fresh install. I did a fresh boot of Windows this week. I freshly installed version 4, and I'm going to get around to installing add-ons today, and then hopefully early this week I should be able to get up and flying, and it's going to be great.
That's awesome. One of the sicknesses of a flight sim addict is that we buy things and we buy add-ons, and we say we buy an airport. We'll fly at that airport for maybe a day and a half or so, and we're never there ever again. And it's just to say, I guess it's just to say that we have the airport, it's there, But it's like some of the Orbix airports, if it's not in the PNW where I love to fly, I probably won't ever go there again. So
see, I'm actually the opposite. Like, I buy airports that I usually fly to. Like, I have Seattle and Seattle City X by Dr. Zilwicki,
yes,
I think it is.
I have that also, yeah.
I have, KMSP from Flightbeam. I have KSFO. I think I have K-Den from FS or from Flightbeam 2. And I have a couple others, and it's like I tend to fly to those airports more than I fly to airports that I don't have scenery for.
Okay, I got you.
Because I don't really like, even with the enhanced, stock airports that kind of overhauls them a little bit. I still prefer flying to just normal, or not normal, but scenery airports that have been fully overdone or fully redone. But that's me. I was kind of looking at maybe getting Dr. Zilwicki Chicago City X. I have I think I have FS Dream Team's Chicago, but I heard in comparison that Dr. Zilwicki's is just way ahead.
Oh, it's a great add-on. I have both the city and the airports for Chicago from him, and it's a great product. I love it.
Yeah, I have Salt Lake City too by who is it, Paxim, I think it is, and I love it. I mean, so I fly to those way more than I fly to just stock airports.
Wow, sounds good. I mean, yeah, you've really gotten a lot of great stuff, and I am looking at, of course, at the throttle. Well, not the throttle, the Honeycomb Yoke to start, and then I don't know if will ever need the throttle, because I'm really not a...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but I'm really not a... where I need 4-engine controls and things like that. But, I saw the video on that throttle and the quadrant that it is, and how you can switch to...
GA or 2-engine airliner or 4-engine airliner. I mean, you can configure that throttle however you want.
That was very, very attractive to me, so that may change my mind on that. Originally, I was just wanting to get a yoke, and now I may want the whole damn shamil. They've also been teasing the rudder pedals now too, so man.
Yeah. And speaking of the throttle, I did see what appeared to be an Amazon page that had the throttle listed as coming in September. And they have said that it was delayed from Q2 to Q3 because of the current, pandemic. But so that's still, of course, function to slip, depending on how, things go.
Mhm.
but it's not official, but it appeared to be. It's either a really good. I mean, it could have been fake too. So I'm not putting too much, press into it until it actually comes. But it would be really nice to see that throttle.
Well, yeah, September gives me time to recover from the beating I'm going to get for the yoke itself. So,
Can't you just sneak it
yeah,
into the house? Put it
yeah,
into
yeah,
your.
yeah.
Don't you have a like an
Oh,
and
I'll put it in my backpack or something. I got a
well, I
backpack.
thought I thought your home office was like an SSID, card equipped office.
Yeah, it could be. You never know.
So you can
It's a
lock
skiff.
everybody. Yeah, it's a skiff. You could make it put a card reader on the door, and so nobody can get in there from
Uh,
you. And as long
you
as you
do
just
you do
sneak
not
it
have
in and
clearance,
say it's
honey.
it's it's a work thing, and that the admiral and her staff can't see it, and then
Yeah,
as long as none of them are allowed in your home skiff, you're good to go.
yeah. That's what I should start calling it, the skiff. Yeah, that makes sense. That'll make him want in there even more. So it'll be like Russian spies running around. So,
So
but yeah.
speaking of buying things, I'm not the only one who spent money this week.
Well, okay. Well, we had to start this a couple days after our last broadcast. I just happened to be waking up one morning and I was on Twitter and I saw something from Prepared 3D.
And we
And I
got
was
an
like,
announcement that I don't think anybody actually expected.
yes, we got P3D version 5, which we had both had already panned as never going to happen. And we were wrong, dead wrong on that. And it's out there now. I bought it, after some initial resistance, but then I saw some of my favorite add-on developers have already uh, have installers ready for their uh, their add-ons for it. With the exception, I don't think the Active Sky is ready yet, but that's coming. But anyway, it's all mute because I can't even fly it right now anyway. So, but yeah, P3D's out there. It looks really good. People have been reporting frame rate increases of 10 to 20, depending on where they're at. 10 to 20 frames per second. And they've done some side by side comparison videos on YouTube. It's a lot brighter. The palette of, I guess, the palette of colors is a lot brighter. That's my first impression of it.
So before sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the atmosphere looks a lot better too, default. So I haven't had put any add-ons in on it yet. Default planes are all still pretty much Lockheed or Lockheed Martin planes.
Of course.
Yes, of course. And the commander there and the Piper Cub is there too. I saw, and with the submarines, I don't know why they even waste time with submarines on that, but they do. But yeah, go ahead. What was you going to say, Kushan?
So I was gonna say, what really shocked me about this was, like you said, we woke up one morning and hey, here's the announcement, and
Yeah.
then as part of that announcement, it was like, oh, by the way, it's coming next week.
Yeah, it wasn't like a couple months down the line,
It was
or
literally I mean, there was 1 week between the announcement and the release this week. Like,
which, I mean, which props to Lockheed Martin. They have pretty good locks on their leaks. There weren't any leaks on it. I don't think anybody saw it coming. I mean, it was almost the same kind of hit that Microsoft did with when they announced the FS 2020 or the new Microsoft Flight Simulator.
literally
Nobody
an
saw
hour
that
after we
coming.
recorded.
Yeah, yeah, an hour after we recorded the show, they announced that. So I guess we just keep recording, and a couple days later, something new will pop up. So that's just how it seems to roll with us. Because we record something, we record a show. 2 days, max 2 days later, a major product announcement shows up. So I
What we
guess,
need to do is switch up our recording, I think is what I'm hearing here.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I think I'm gonna wait on version 5. I am gonna
uh-huh.
probably upgrade. Let's be honest. Especially since it's looking like Microsoft 2020 is actually probably going to be Microsoft 2021.
Yeah.
Um,
I think what's happening there is they're waiting for Sony to blink and
Microsoft and Sony are both
yeah,
staring each other in the eye of going,
yeah,
which one of us is going to delay our next gen console first.
yes. I
They're
think
both
that's
they're both
exactly what's
looking at each other in the eye and wait. As soon as the other one does it, the other one's going to do it like the next day, saying, "Hey, we're delaying too."
But
you know.
it's going to come to a day where somebody's going to have to say something because they're not going to be able to make commitments, and
Yeah.
that's
Um,
so.
but
We'll see what happens.
I'm probably going to buy version 5. I'm going to wait until, like, PMDG already posted saying, please don't, force install or copy files from version 4 into version 5. Installers are coming, just hold on, wait, we're working on it. And so I'm going to wait until, the Active Skies, the PMDG, FS to crew. Once all those are updated, I'm going to pull the trigger on it.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I'll do another full reinstall, but fine. And then that'll probably be it till Microsoft 2020, or
Yeah.
2020, until that comes out. And I
Yeah.
guess we should stop calling it 2020, just Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Flight Sim. Yeah, that's what
Um,
they're calling it.
yeah,
So
once
because
once that comes out, I'm definitely switching over to that. But I think version 5's a holdover, and I mean, the other thing I found interesting, I'm kind of rambling, but the other thing I found interesting is that Lockheed Martin said that this was the beginning of turning this into like a platform, or not really a platform, but what did they call it? Um, essentially that this is kind of building for the future, essentially, and it
okay.
really had me interested in that. Are we going to see something similar with version 5, as it appears Microsoft is going to be doing with Flight Simulator? Is it just going to be version 5 going forward, and they're going to make enhancements to it? I mean,
It's possible.
I
Or
don't know.
they
I mean, because they probably get a lot of money when everybody goes out and rebuys it,
yeah.
every 3 years. But I
My
also
my main concern with Lockheed Martin and P3D is how are they going to compete with the Bing Maps integration with Microsoft Flight Sim? They cannot do that unless they go out and buy Google Maps or something like that, and that's never going to happen.
I
But
don't think they do, because if you actually, I mean, I think this comes down to if Lockheed has to say, basically, prepared is for training.
yeah,
It's not for the
or
civilian market. It's not for quote unquote entertainment.
but
We all know that
have you?
what you do with your prepared licenses between you and Lockheed Martin. Um,
But if they go that route and say, "Hey, we're the professional product, and the Microsoft Flight Simulator is the kids' version of Flight Sim," I don't know if you've read the patch notes yet for that Airbus that they have that's default in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it looks like it's a fully featured payware worthy plane that they have getting ready to come out. And
I have
so
not.
yeah, you should read those patch notes. It's pretty impressive how many systems they're simulating on that Airbus. So um, it's I don't know if if that argument's going to be able to hold any water with if they go, hey, we're the professional flight sim compared to Microsoft Flight Simulator. So who knows? I don't know, but it's still very early in the game yet. But that's kind of how I see that.
The other thing I would find really interesting here is, um, do we think we're gonna get a new flight model in prepared? Do we think 4.1 or 4.2 brings a new flight model? I mean,
Well, that would be.
Version 5 brought, DirectX 12.
Hmm.
They've already made a jump to 64-bit. Do we
Yeah,
think that they can do we think that they would be willing to do
that would be a total revamp of the sim, and would that be a version 6 even kind of thing? But who knows? I mean, I have read online where people are calling it evolutionary, not revolutionary. So
which feels
uh,
about right,
yeah,
you
it
know.
it is. Yeah, it has a snazzy new pop-up screen when you start the sim instead of the boring blue P3 prepared 3D logo. Um, the menus are nice and uh, they're just a little bit better drawn. They don't kind of look like an evolution of the old FSX menu anymore. Kind of different now. So
I wonder if that was to separate themselves from FSX
it's possible, quite
and
possible.
Microsoft. I wonder if that
I
was
mean,
that was probably intentional.
Yeah, the same basic layout is there once you start digging into the menus, but it's at first glance it's a different kind of a menu system now.
Oh, and the other
So
thing that we forgot to mention is that version 5 brings sloped runways.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, I guess it
so
does. I have not experienced that yet, but yeah.
so I'm curious
Yep.
that if they can do something like sloped runways and stuff like that, I'm really curious if they, if it's whether it's version 6 or version 5 or what, if they could do a new flight model, because I think right now that's really what people get down and prepared for is the flight model. Now,
You
I'm
know,
not a real pilot. I like doing simulator to simulate being a real pilot,
hmm
and to go through that training maneuvers. But the only with the hopes of one day I really do want to get my pilot's license.
okay,
So I'm covered.
yeah.
Um, but so I don't, but I really don't know how a 737 flies. For me, it's about part of it for me, along with that training and getting the feel of flying, is I like going through the procedures. It's
Yeah.
very based off of it's different than my day job. Of then I can follow a strict set of this, and if I do this, and this, I get from point A to point B, and it's
Kushan,
very
we're at 36,000 feet. The cockpit crew is heading to fish. They're all incapacitated. They're asking you to fly it, get it on the ground. Could you do it?
we're screwed. No, I'm not. I don't pretend that I could even take hold of a 737. I don't even want to pretend that I could do that. If that situation,
Uh
you know,
huh.
I probably know enough to press a button and say, "Hey, we're really screwed." Over. But beyond that, no, I don't want to pretend that I'm know anything about actually flying a 737 or anything like that. But I just enjoy going through the simulated steps.
But you could probably give it a good call it to try. I mean, or you do know what the instruments are, and you know basically how to read them, and that's better than the grandmother sitting next to you and coach there. So you could possibly do it.
I've seen some videos of that, of like where they've taken like a simmer and put them
Uh huh.
in
Yeah.
a flight sim, an actual like full motion sim.
Uh huh.
And some of the results are interesting. Some of them
Yeah.
turn out like you would expect, of the plane splashes pancakes into the ground.
And some of them actually do it. So
From what I've heard, the biggest difference that you don't get when you're actually simming is you don't get that, for lack of a better term, tactile feel of flying, that
yeah,
sense of motion and the sense of weight.
yeah, the G's and
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah. You
G's
don't get.
and just the weight of the airplane when you're flying.
Hmm
Especially if you're in like a GA that's not fly by wire, you don't get that weight behind it of physically
Yeah.
moving the controls. But again, I don't want to pretend I'm a real pilot. I'm not. I'm never going to be able to be behind the seat of a 737,
Yeah.
and but I do enjoy flying it in the sim.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the dream though. What we all have when we're flying. It's cheaper than doing it for real.
Yeah.
Barely. So.
So what do you think of the wave enhancements in version 5 and the water enhancements?
I did kind of fly over the water a little bit. It's a lot better than it used to be. I'll give it that. I don't know if it's any kind of weather enhanced. I didn't really have the weather cranked up when I was flying it, so with my keyboard, it's pretty hard to do anything with the keyboard. But the water looked a lot better. So I don't know if we're going to need a whole lot of enhancement there or not. So which is a good thing. But yeah, frame rates for my system now, they were just through the roof. So default. So I can't wait to get it actually loaded down with some uh, add-ons and Orbix and things like that. So are you there? Where'd he go? What happened? Kushan, you there?
Are you there?
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I'm talking to myself. I had the mic muted and I thought I unmuted it, but apparently didn't press the button.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
I was taking a drink
Okay.
while you were
You,
talking.
you were expecting me to talk a little longer there.
Yeah, I was, and then I kind of scrambled to hit the button and didn't
My fault.
actually hit it. No, I am super. I'm looking at the update for it right now as far as what's
Uh-huh.
compatible on FS Elite. I will link this and make sure it's in the show notes. I mean, it looks like Orbex is basically all compatible, like confirmed,
Uh-huh.
free upgrade available now, and don't have to do anything. We shall see what other updates come out as this goes forward.
Yeah.
I
Now I'm
am.
assuming. How about a Navigraph? Is their little tool going to work? I'm sure it would.
I don't know.
So,
This is just listing add-on. Let's look here.
I mean,
Um,
that's the holy trinity to me is Orbix, Active Sky, and now Navigraph.
yeah, I mean, a lot
So,
of it right now, as far as aircraft, is basically all saying, unknown um,
yeah,
or most aircraft right now seem to be unknowns. There's a couple that are from like Coronado that are already confirmed as working, but most of it's just kind of like, hey, we're just it's a new full version release. Everything's just
yeah.
kind of in the works. Same thing
But
with like FS Labs.
back in the day, we have to wait weeks for this kind of stuff, and I think people now are pretty much on the ball with it. So, hopefully, not a long wait to get a lot of things going.
Yeah, I mean, based off of when like version 4, I mean, granted version 4 was a switch to 64-bit, but based off of previous versions, I mean, it's probably 2 or 3 months before
Hmm.
most of it's all confirmed as updated or an upgrade path or new version or whatever you have.
Yeah,
It's a guarantee that some things you're gonna have to rebuy. I mean, that's just how it goes. FSU IPC has their version 5 out now, and of course you're gonna have to pay for that because it's now version 6.
if
Um,
you own it, all right, you have the old version, right?
I have the old version.
Okay, if you bought it through what's the name of that store? The Sim.
Yeah, I have Sim Market. Mine's through Sim
Yes,
Market.
Sim Market is $10 for the
Oh,
upgrade.
so yeah,
So
you get a discount there, but
yeah,
like PMG's already confirmed that there's going to be a free upgrade. Um, I know like iFly is charging again if you bought any of their stuff. So another usually based off of like I said, based off of previous updates, it's probably 2 or 3 months everything's updated, which feels about right to me. About June I'll be ready for itching to fly version 5 because
yeah.
you'll have beta tested it for me and told me how it is and have
I'm your,
worked down
I'm the
my
guinea
my
pig.
resistances to upgrading. And
Well, you'll have to tell me how easy it is to get the yoke going.
I will have that ready for the next show.
Yes, let's see how that goes, and that way when I
In fact, I'll
do,
probably be able to tell you about that this week because
yeah,
like I said, I'm pulling that out today or tomorrow.
yes, out of the quarantine car and
Yep.
into your house. So
Or I may just go lay in bed and play Animal Crossing on my Switch all day today and do it tomorrow because
there you go. You do need to rest because you've flown 8,000 miles or whatever it was since Sim did anyway, and in
you know
command.
I
So
think about like that stream yesterday, and I think about the people that do long haul flights in prepared in real time.
the VAT Sim people do it.
The
Yeah.
people who fly from Australia to the UK or the
Hmm.
Australia to New York or these super long flights, and I think about that now, and it's just like, oh, I don't think I have that in me.
Yeah, I don't either.
I
So
mean, granted, I bought the 777 because I wanted a freighter. I mean, that was really why I bought the 777.
very cool.
I don't have a sim freighter at all. So I'm like, hey, I want to fly sim cargo stuff, and I'm like, well, what's out there? Well, the PMDG long haulers are on sale, but and I debated hard between the Queen of the Skies 747
Hmm.
and the triple, and I went with the 777. Um,
Well,
because if I had bought the 747, then I would have had to buy the 747-8,
uh,
separately, and I didn't, which is another $80 on top of the $100 for the base package for that. I'm like, no, I don't want to spend that much money right now.
PMDG knows how to get the money, so they do a very good job at that. I have the DC-6 out of the PMG planes. I do have that one, so
You don't
I
fly
do
that very
enjoy
often,
that.
though, do you?
No, I don't. I mean, it took the first time when I loaded that plane up. First time I pulled it up and I was ready to go. It took me about 90 minutes to figure out how to get it to roll. So it was a chug of a process. So
But you have the 787 from Quality Wings, don't you?
yes, I do, and that one you can just pretty much jump into it and away you go. But that PMG DC-6, requires some finesse to get into the air, and some reading of books too. So I'm just not used to that. I'm a Coronado guy where I like my two prop or one prop.
So I'm trying to figure out how you
push
did that with the
points.
787, because the 787 is really not like steady level, but it's not like a push to start Coronado either.
No, it's not. But you can have it, load into the sim as ready to go. So
True.
you know,
Speaking of long haul planes, Captain Sim has been teasing stuff.
yes, Captain Sim is one of the oldest big plane add-on producers in the business for in the hobby, and they've been doing. I think the first one was like a 757 way back in the day, and so.
I actually have their 757,
hmm
but it appears, based off all the screenshots that they're teasing, that they are bringing the 767 to prepared.
That's cool. That's a very good deal.
At least that seems to be most people's guesses, and what I think based off the pictures.
The cryptic tweets that they've pulled out, yeah.
Yeah, with all the cryptic tweets and all the cryptic images on Facebook, and I want that, because I've actually wanted a 767 in prepared for a while, and it's a very underused slot. Like, there is no other, there isn't a 767 prepared unless you go back a couple versions.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Well,
Doing a 7.4 or something like that doesn't really make sense, considering you already have the excellent PMDG options.
yeah.
So my guess is the 767.
Yeah, that would be the one to do. That would the with those the 757, the 67, the 77, they all have that the Boeing sells them as having all triple commonality. Basically, if you can fly one, you can pretty much fly them all.
Not quite. They're not all the same type rating.
Well, no,
But they're all similar enough. It's just like
very
Airbus.
similar,
Airbus does
yeah.
the same thing, where
Yeah, Airbus does
there's
the
all a
same
commonality between the planes, where if you do decide to get qualified on one, you're at least familiar enough with it.
Yep. All right. Well, that's cool. I mean, Captain Sim they've been in the business a long time. I might even look at it, because I like rare planes like that, where everybody in the world posts pictures on the Discords of 77s, 777s, and PMG this, PMG that. That might be something to look into. Who
I think
knows?
you would like one of the PMDGs with FS to crew.
I possibly would.
Especially, I mean, if you had a couple hours where it was relatively quiet, not that it's quiet around your house, you've got a bunch of girls that are homeschooling.
Yes.
But if you had the time to dedicate to it, I mean, especially since like FS to crew is really nice having an actual like co-pilot that actually clicks buttons and stuff like that, so it lets you focus just on things the pilot should be focusing on.
That might be something to look into.
And flying the plane, and it really, and especially in like the 7.3, like there's different standard operating procedures which can go from basically the pilot does nothing but program the FMS and fly the plane, to the other one, which I think is like Ryanair, where the pilot does everything and the co-pilot doesn't do anything. So it's like you can, in the middle ground is like the Boeing one, where it's kind of split duties between the two. So it's like you could customize that and just say, hey, I just want to sit here and fly the plane, and AI, you do it for me.
That is you'll have to talk to me more about that. If and when I decide to bite on a PMG or maybe the Captain Sim, who knows? So.
Alrighty, well, I think that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. Where can people find you on the internet, SSN?
I am on the Twitter at Wolf Sonar is my handle on there. Do a lot of military and submarine and basically sim talking. And I'm also on various Discords. If you know where the Discord for Command is at, I'm on Kushan's Discord. That's basically where I'm at.
And you can find me at Kushan Gaming everywhere. I'm Kushan Gaming on Twitter, at Kushan Gaming on YouTube, and at Kushan Gaming on Twitch. And you can also find me streaming every Saturday over on the Slytherin Group Twitch channel. And with that, everybody, I hope you have a great week. Stay safe, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a good day, folks.